Welcome to Fuzzybutts and Friends. Welp is supposed to enjoy Fuzzybutts all over this place. Absolutely crazy when they hear me say it. I am the host of this show, your big dog, Luke Robinson, back with you again this week. And look over there to my left or my right. It's Ginger Morgan. She's our co-host, co-producer, and she's also the executive director of the Puppy Up Foundation. Ginger, how are you this week?
I'm excited. Out of breath a little bit from running to get from one place to the next, but I'm really excited. So, Luke, this week I'm going to go to the HSUS conference in San Antonio and learn about all things pet related. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing I'm excited about is I get to see Indiana and Grayson. Oh, and you, of course.
Well, yeah, Indiana. That's right. You're coming to San Antonio for HSUS. They're a known entity. They've done a few things to help fuzzy butts around the country, maybe the world. I don't know. We need to get somebody on that their organization on the show and to talk about
I'm
what
on
they.
it.
Yeah, okay, good. That's good. That's hopefully what you'll do at the conference. You'll meet somebody there to come join our show and talk to us. That would be great. Well, what's also great, Ginger, is we always seem to find the most fascinating, interesting friends of Fuzzy Butts, and that's who we have for this episode, Ginger. I recently met him and got to know him briefly, and he's just done a ton of things for our fellow Fuzzy Butts. It's Brett Simon, and he's with Service Dogs for Vets. Brett, how are you? Welcome to Fuzzy Butts and Friends.
I'm doing great, Luke. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the time.
Great. Hey, man, I appreciate your time today. Thank you. It's been a crazy day, and you accommodated Ginger's travel schedule, so we appreciate that. All right, so it's a fun show, and it's about Fuzzy Butts, even though we talk about some serious, crazy, funny and things from time to time. But we like to start the show with Fuzzy Butts. So tell us, do you have Fuzzy Butts currently?
I do. I've got one Belgian Malinois, about 6 years old, and he is my service animal. So he hangs out with me all day.
Well, what's his name?
Lincoln.
Lincoln, of course. I bet he's a
Yeah,
handsome Lincoln. Is he anywhere around? There he is. I see some
he is.
pictures.
He's all tangled up in my cord right now, so I'm trying to get that off of him.
That's all right. I don't
Lincoln, hey,
I have one
how about
three-legged fuzzy butt. There he is.
There
Look
he
at
is.
Lincoln. What a
Hi, Lincoln.
there he is. Good buddy.
it,
Okay,
it,
off.
it's some type of weird fate that this morning here in San Antonio, I awakened to my cup of coffee, went outside to walk my boys, and I had Grayson in the backyard here in San Antonio, and a stray dog came up out of nowhere, and he looks like he's part Belgian Malinois. And I actually I thought it was Malinois, and I had to look it up, and I was wrong about that. And so now I coaxed him in the backyard and closed the gate. So gave him some food and some water. He was a handsome, hungry boy. And so now he's either part German Shepherd or parts Belgian Malinois. And I just couldn't help but thinking, well, it's ironic we're going to be talking to Brett today about that. Maybe he needs another one. I can ship you. I can ship you
Oh,
one.
no. One's good enough at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, my friend. Well, tell us. I had the chance, Brett, the good chance of talking to you earlier in the week or last week about your origin story. Everybody seems to be a superhero these days. At least in my book, everyone that does things for the betterment and benefit of our companion animals or animals as a whole, I think is a superhero. So tell us, how did you get involved in the crazy world of dogs?
Well, believe it or not, when I was growing up, my mom would not allow me to have a dog. From the time we were kids, we had cats, so I wasn't a cat person, obviously. So when I got my law enforcement career, I had always seen the canine units, and so I, applied for the canine unit, and eventually it was able to make that come to fruition. And I worked three different dogs because one got injured in the line of duty, and he did live till 12. But he just couldn't return back to police work. So through that, I really delved into the Schutzen sport and just the police work of dogs to see what they could do. And through that, I ended up on a contract job to Iraq, where I was placed with an infantry unit. And we took the first 15 cross-trained explosives and tracking dogs. In 2005, I was in Mosul, Iraq, and came back with traumatic brain injury and PTSD is what they're telling me. I think everything works fairly well, but got to listen to the doctors sometimes. And that started the idea with my mom, knowing that how much I love dogs and was into the sport and just wanting to be with dogs. She started coming up with researching therapy and assistance dogs, and noticed that there was not a Gen R just specifically made for veterans. And so I ended up back in doing another contract job in 2009 into 2010. And when we came back from that is when Canines for Warriors actually came to fruition. Myself and a couple other guys created the logo in Iraq, that not the current one that they have, but if some people know Canines for Warriors, there's a former logo that before they changed. And that was developed over there. And we started with one dog off of Craigslist, my mom, my brother-in-law, and myself. And that was in 2011 to today, where 2024, they have over 1,000 graduates of the program, probably over 2,000 dogs saved from shelters and rescues and, situations. And 2 facilities, one in Texas, there in San Antonio. The flagship is here in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, along with what they're calling the mega kennel and veterinarian office. So, it just was one of those things that my mom knew I needed help, and I didn't realize it, that this would be that help. So Canines for Warriors came to fruition.
So let me get this straight. So did you have a dog before you joined the canine? You signed up for the canine unit for law enforcement? Did you have a dog before?
I did not. I was
So
not
why
allowed
did-
to have one.
So you never had a dog ever in your life, and you said, "But I want to be a canine officer." That just occurred to you.
That is correct. I had friends that had a lot of dogs. So
It's
and my dad's
interesting.
he was
Go
a
ahead.
retired officer that had his friend was on the canine unit at the Cincinnati Police Department. So I did get to experience that dog, and then while he was working and when he retired, because they lived on our street where I was growing up. So that's what got me into it.
I think it's interesting. I did not have any dogs or cats growing up. My first dog was when I graduated high school.
Okay, so there we are.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question, and I don't mean to sound rude, but so your mom helped you found Canine for Warriors. Was this the same mom that wouldn't let you have a dog when you were a kid?
That is correct. And at the time, she had one dog, and then she actually got 2 of the dogs before she passed. They're still at the house with my stepdad, but she got 2 of the dogs that did not make the service dog program from Canines, because all those dogs are adopted out. They're never returned back to shelters. So we have there's a pool of people that are waiting for to adopt the dogs that don't make it through the entire program.
Yeah, interestingly enough, ironically enough, Brett, I just moved back to San Antonio after 16 or so years, and one of the first events I did, I'm going to get involved with the animal community here, do a puppy up walk, Ginger, or find somebody to help me do a puppy up walk. I'm not so good on managing back-end operations, but
He's really good at suggesting things.
well, no, yeah, I can do some heavy lifting, that's for sure. And but I got to tell you, San Antonio really has changed in a wonderful way. It's a much bigger animal community than when I got here. But the first event I did was Canine for Warriors. They had an adoption event at Black Rifle Coffee just down the road from where I'm at, and met some of the folks there, and they're so wonderful. But I didn't understand anything about the organization. But I found it funny when I got there talking to speaking with the folks there, that so basically there are 3 levels of dogs there. There are the ones that make it through the training and are successfully. Then there are the rejects, and the rejects can do like and you can elaborate on this. I'm sure I'm screwing it up, but the rejects can become like a station dog or that. And if that doesn't work out, they fail that too. Then they're part of the wonderful thing that you guys do, or they do, is that they find a home. They adopt out the rejects. So
Yes.
and I met some of the rejects up there at that event, and I can tell you there's this one beautiful girl dog named Matilda, and all she did was just spread on her back, or stretch out on her back and scratch her belly. And I'm like, yeah, you're not servicing anybody,
Right.
sweetheart.
She was confused in her training. She thought you were supposed to service her.
Yeah,
Exactly.
belly.
Well, the one thing we can all agree on is dogs are master manipulators of people. So they get us to do all kinds of things.
Well,
Oh
look at
yeah.
the dog I rescued this morning. I had a packed schedule, and like my whole day got canceled and moved around. But because the only other option here, one thing San Antonio unfortunately still has, it still has a very large population of dumped and discarded dogs. I spent the day talking to the Animal Defense League here. I can't get to the Humane Society or ACS here. There's a kind of a Byzantine Kafkaesque process to go through to say, hey, I rescued it. Well, I'm a dog guy. There's absolutely no way that I could just turn him loose. And he's a handsome, sweet boy. And
Right.
but I hear I knew it before when I lived here, but I hear it's still a big problem here in San Antonio, where there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that dump dogs, just dump them off in wherever and leave them. So we still got a lot of work to do. But one of the cool things I love that you guys did, I know you're no longer affiliated. Well, you're no longer running the organization. We're going to get Canine for Warriors on our show. Ginger, Brett's going to facilitate that. I think the director's name is Steve. But one of the things that I love about Canine for Warriors is that they actually go to shelters here and they look for shelter dogs that need homes as potential candidates. I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, when we first started, as a nonprofit, especially a startup nonprofit with just 3 people, it's hard. So, every dollar that we had to be very fiscally responsible for it. So the shelters and rescues, it had been done before, but not to the scale and the model that we wanted to do. And I was told more than once that this would never work, that, our model wouldn't be sustainable. However, for the first, I'd say 9-10 years in existence, we sustained it at over 80% shelter and rescue dogs that were turned into service animals for veterans.
Wow, that seems like a big number.
So,
Ginger, that's pretty successful, right, Ginger? You think?
yes.
Oh yeah, that's really successful. And I'm sure, Luke, that you had this in there, but I'm really curious to find out what your criteria would be for the shelter dogs. But I may be jumping ahead, so.
Go right ahead.
No, we can. So, like Luke said, I'm no longer running the organization. I help out every now and again. I still chat with everybody. However, I am the director and membership services director for the Association of Service Dog Providers. So I just rewrote all the standards, and we can go through that real quick. The dog is 3 years or less of age, of appropriate size for the work, and we do some mobility commands. So that's over right about 50 pounds and over. However, under a size that can fit on a plane. It is tough when you see a 120-pound dog on an airplane or in a taxi, things like that. So they need to be able to kind of be out of the way. And the temperament we're looking for is a lot of food motivation, medium drive, which is tough with a Malinois because I had 3 of them before I could actually find one that could be calm enough to do it. And, we're looking for that soft look of a dog that people are approachable with it. So we don't say we have breed restrictions for it. However, there is not a line, but some things that people are afraid of certain types of dogs, and it's not just pit bulls. It could be cane corsos, it could be Dobermans, it could be a Chihuahua if somebody's afraid of small dogs.
Oh, let me tell you, Chihuahua will get you way faster than anybody else. Love them, but I'm very cautious.
So we don't say breed restriction, but we look at breeds that, or the look of the dog. It could be a mix of any of those that creates. I hate the word social lubricant, but I hear it all the time. So we'll use that to say, so it eases the veteran into meeting people out in public. People kind of want to inquire what's going on, which is the biggest thing for the veteran and first responders now that are going to be retired that get service dogs from our organization, is to have that interaction. Because they're usually isolated in their homes. And that's what we need to do, is get them out and get them back into society so that they can just come out and be normal again.
Yeah. So what is it about service dogs that fascinates you? And then also speak to you. I mean, I have had, I think we spoke briefly about my background. I've walked 4,250 miles with my dogs. And so I've had a working relationship with what is it, Ginger? Three different dogs, four. You include Grayson and Walk three. Although I did all the work and he rode the.
Yeah.
I had to push him up
Speaking
and
of
down
a
the Appalachian
manipulator,
Mountains in New York State because he got a medical problem that he couldn't walk on three legs. So, but I'm fascinated with the rapport because I did learn, and when I first started my first walk from Austin to Boston, I was a complete idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I trained with them and worked with them, but I didn't understand just how rich and incredible the working relationship is when you rely on one another. So is that what appeals to you about service dogs, Brett?
It does. It's that unconditional love that they give to you no matter what's going on at the time. And part of the other thing I think that makes the bond work for the veterans and the first responders is at heart, they're all caregivers. They might be warriors as well and fighters, but at the end of the day, through their entire career, they've been taught to take care of the person to their left and to their right. And when they lose that camaraderie or they have to, retire due to medical or injuries, sometimes they lose that sense of the family atmosphere or the unit type atmosphere. And I think placing them with an animal, a living, breathing animal that's with them 24/7 gives them the courage and the responsibility to take care of another living being, whether it's a dog, a cat, a person. It just gives it back to them, and they always want to succeed. That's the one great thing about our military and first responders is they're overachievers. And they want everything to work. So when a group, an organization like Canines or any of them are giving of themselves to a veteran, then they are willing to take on the responsibility and do it. And do the best they can. So I think it's that instant bond that they get. They can talk to them, they can love on them, they can tell them all the war stories they want to hear that they can't tell other people, or whatever it is that they need. That animal's there for them no matter what. And just like you said, being goofy dogs jumping on you, licking you. Probably when you're on your trip, there was times that they did something that got you going a little bit. Maybe you were down or tired, and they just jump right in your lap, and it just changes your whole demeanor. And I think that really was a big key for a lot of the veterans that received dogs from multiple organizations.
So service dogs for vets, though, you don't train them to be service dogs out and working dogs. You train them for the actual to actually help out for the specific needs of the veterans. Is that correct?
So service dogs for vets is we are the organization that the members join. So we have 19 partner members across the United States, California, Texas, Florida, all the way up to Ohio, Midwest too. And we support them. We provide them with standards to train by. We put on a conference every year, which is in St. Louis this year in July, where we're going to have Lima training done by Steve Lindsay, some CPR courses and first aid for the dogs. And then we have a week-long conference just to discuss service dogs. And this is the first year that we've put into place our first responder program too, which is going to be retired all law enforcement, firefighter, EMS, for the ability to get a dog at no cost from one of these organizations that they know that they're doing the training right, they're placing the right type of dogs. We're hoping to grow that membership. We're about 6 years in now. We still have the original 5 founding members, and we've had others join. So looking forward to that growing and also bringing in that new Genoir of first responders to help them with everything that they go through day to day through, however long their career is in law enforcement or fire EMS.
So Luke, I need to ask you a question. So do you feel the unconditional love from Grayson and Indiana?
Not at all. Not at all. But I have, unfortunately, I thought I was getting great Pyrenees, but I got the ungrateful Pyrenees is what I ended up with. And I don't know. I love my boys. I love my Fuzzybutts, and I do anything for them. But it's just but they're kind of aloof, though. They're an independent breed, and
Yes.
I would imagine Belgian Malinois are different in that respect. because the way Pyrenees, the way they work is just sit around and guard and protect.
Right.
You don't do anything unless there's a threat, which on most days, if they're anywhere around livestock, that pretty much keeps the coyotes and the predators at bay. So basically,
Right.
do absolutely nothing. Plus, it's an ancient breed. Great Pyrenees date back to 3,000, 1,000 to 3,000 BC, depending upon the source that you read. And so I think they look at me like they've always looked at me like, we know what we're doing. We've been around for thousands of years. We don't need humans. You just give us food and be nice to us and a place to stay, and everything will be okay. So
Yep, and we'll be good.
we'll be good. So I unfortunately, maybe this byproduct of me, I've never really had, well, no, I've had, of course, affectionate relationships with my boys, but it's always been different, and I'm fascinated by different breeds and their different personalities. What I have to ask you, what is Lima training? I'm not familiar with that.
So Lima is least invasive, minimal adversity. So it's not force-free training, but it's showing the sides of you don't always have to correct an animal to get them to comply with the command that the person is giving at the time. Trying to find a better way and a more communicative way to relate that to the dog instead of always correcting a dog and telling them no, or of course of a chain collar or something like that. So it shows that there are other pathways, but it mixes the two together so that we're getting the result that we need. And it's not just for service animals, that is for all dogs and dog trainers that use it. And so that's going to be put on, like I said, at our conference for the first time this year. So it's just,
nice.
It's good for us to all get together as dog trainers and share an idea. I always hate the joke that the only thing two dog trainers agree on is the third one is wrong. There's so many ways of training a dog as long as we do it, the right way and ethically, humanely. Everybody can have an opinion on how to do it. So that's what our group likes to do. We're very collaborative, and that's why these member groups like to stick with us and are looking to join. So
That's wonderful. Telling a Great Pyrenees no, the conversation pretty much goes like this. You say no, and they say yes, and you say no, and they say yes, and you say no again, and they'll finally say, okay, well, I'll let you this time. And it's a negotiation. It's really a hostage situation, I think. I think my fuzzy butts always have me in a hostage situation, and it's just like serious negotiations, but we ultimately figure it out. But that just goes to show, and one of the things, Brett, that we always talk about on the show is just that I talk about this tirelessly. Ginger, you know this, is that the academics always say that dogs have the intellect of 4-year-old children, emotional intellect or whatever of 4-year-old children, and I think that's not correct. And I know it varies from breeds, and I know I've talked to a lot of people, but I just don't think communicating with dogs is really the most difficult thing, and establishing that form of verbal and nonverbal communication, that's the challenge. And there are so few people that actually know how to do it correctly. So it's wonderful that you guys are sharing best practices and are collaborative, because we met a lot of people, Ginger, and we talked to a lot of people on this show, and it just, most people have no idea, and they just think dogs are dumb. And that's just, to me, that's dismissive. That's no, they're not. We just don't talk their language.
we haven't really tapped the potential of a dog yet, I don't believe.
Absolutely.
As far as what they can do, and if science ever catches up. Now, whether it's a 4-year-old brain or not, it's a very smart 4-year-old brain.
I had a dog that was she was a little difficult to handle, and I started training her and teaching her tricks and kind of teaching her to think. Boy, that was a mistake. Teaching that dog to think. There was Honey, and she had a lot of thoughts that I was not real happy with at some points, and the things that she would get into, it was amazing. I'm like, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at some of the games they have for dogs nowadays. Have you seen the brain games for the dogs, from beginner level to expert, and and whatever other people have trained on it? It's crazy. So like I said, we haven't tapped their full potential, but maybe one day.
Well, yeah, this is a conversation I love to have. And in fact, I'm doing comedy now, and some of my comedy is based on this. And it's not in our talking points, but let me ask you, what do you think about Neuralink? What do you think about what Elon Musk is trying to do to create a communication interface between, let's just say, dogs and people, rather than just other animals? I think that's such an interesting concept, and I'm both fascinated by it and frightened and horrified by it, because the last thing I have time to do in my busy days explain myself to my dog why I'm doing certain things. So, do you think there ever will be, Brett, some type of communication, some type of deeper, richer ability through technology to be able to truly better communicate and better understand dogs, their potential, and understand and communicate with them?
I believe there will be. I don't know, if, a lot about the Neuralink. I hear the stories and read the stuff, and kind of like you, is this the best path, or is this going to be the end of, if they had thumbs, we'd all be in trouble anyway. So, um, you know, I think they will eventually tap that. I don't know if it'll be through that source or just, keep delving in the science. A lot of my friends have taken dog training to a higher level than I ever believed they could, and learning from them and watching them. So I think, as we evolve with the science of thinking about it and using them, and maybe with technology, we will get there and we'll understand what they're saying, and they maybe understand us a little bit better too.
Now imagine dog dads having the neuter talk with their dog and sitting down and trying to explain the fact that they're going to have them neutered. And at the end of the painful conversation, your dog would be going, "Please, Poppy, no, I promise to keep my pecker in my pants." I mean, I don't know about you. I'd be so traumatized. I would never neuter dogs ever again, and the stray population would be way out of control. And then the other thing I think about, because I think about this a lot, and probably to an unhealthy extent. But the other
It
thing,
sounds like it.
oh, I do. I do, but I think about dogs all the time. But think about the first time you get in a political argument with your dog. And just think about how many people would be surrendering their dogs, no matter whatever your political affiliation is. It's like, I just can't have this dog because they're Republican, Democrat, or whatever it is in my house.
Oh man.
And I just think, okay, I think communicating with dogs is a noble concept to pursue, but I just imagine all the nightmare scenarios that can become of it. But I have a geriatric dog, and I got to tell you, the thing I want most is to better understand what he needs right now. So it's a fascinating but also a frightening time.
Yeah, I can almost see him, getting into stem cells at some point in time with dogs too, to regenerate some of their illnesses and diseases that take them too soon. So we'll see, on that front where it goes.
Yeah,
Interesting times in the dog world.
It is, and it really is. It's interesting times. We have the Foundation Puppy Up, and so we're a part of, helping with the commercialized technologies, and there are just a number of wonderful therapeutics and diagnostics out there. And so there're just a lot more tools for pet parents and dog owners to, I hate using the word owners, but dog dads, dog moms, to be able to take care, and we do look to a longer life span with their dogs. But here is a topic that you and I discussed briefly the other day, and I like to talk to people who are interested in this conversation. Is that on the other hand, though, we're also seeing the emergence of robot dogs. And since you're involved with service dogs and law enforcement and veterans and military dogs, and you're a dog lover too, I'm sure it pains you when there are dogs killed in the service in the line of duty. It breaks my heart. It's tough, but you think, okay, well, if it maybe saves the life of a law enforcement officer, or it prevents something bad happening, okay, maybe there's the end downstream benefit, but still, I don't like dogs getting killed. And so the cool thing that Boston Dynamics is doing, they've developed Spot. And as you know, Spot has been deployed in so many really tough law enforcement situations and have saved the officers. And actually, there was one I just read about recently, and it was Massachusetts, not surprisingly, and Boston. And there was somebody holed up, and they sent the robot dog in, and the guy just unloaded 9 bullets into the dog, and the robot dog. And you think, man, that saved the life of a service dog, and it saved the life of law enforcement, and that's a good thing. But however, Boston Dynamics has taken it to another level, and they put fur on it, and they call it Sparkles now. And I'm thinking, okay, now if we're going to make cute robot dogs, now you're going to have little kids that choose robot cute dogs instead of real world cute dogs. So,
yeah.
But
I never thought about that for the population of the shelter and rescue dogs to a robot furry dog.
It is, and I posted this on Facebook, and most people think I'm nuts.
That's where they come up with the adopt, don't shop. Applies
Exactly.
to the robot dogs too.
But I put this out on Facebook, and most people think I'm crazy, but I'm a futurist. I'm always thinking about the future, and I don't think that shelters and rescues realize the storm that's ahead. Is that look, we have 6 million new cases of cancer in dogs every year. Dogs, just like I mean, dogs, natural dogs, just like the rest of us, are subject to entropy and harm and all the painful things in life. And that's tough for children. That's tough for me. I've lost 3 dogs, and I have one that's just sort of end of life situation. And it breaks my heart. And I got to tell you, honestly, if they ever make a really cute robot dog that's like five I can afford, I might, and I'm older, I might just say, yeah, I'll take the robot dog. So in all seriousness, Brett,
Would it be cuddly?
well, they're going to make it
Wouldn't
couple.
it be?
They're going
It's not cuddly.
we talked about this in Fuzzybutts in the news as not ad nauseum, I think, and I don't want to I don't want to irritate the audience again with it, but at some point they're going to make it cute and cuddly.
Yeah.
Sparkle's version 10 or 5 or whatever that is, and it's going to be a hard choice. So I don't think that shelters and rescues and organizations such as yourself are realizing, hey, we might really have a much larger population of homeless dogs because people are making consumer choices for reasons that I don't want my dog to die ever. So
Yeah. And there is that heart. Everybody has the heart for their animals. So not have that loss makes life a little bit easier. But back to your original question about for law enforcement work and maybe even service work, definitely is a plus for the working dogs that are out on the street to not have to be that person or be that dog that has to go in and take 9 bullets from a bad guy to solve a situation. They're more than willing and able to do it, but it's just a dog, and it can only do so much. We don't want to put them in that situation to lose it. So I could see the benefit of it. I did not go and watch Spot yet or anything like that. I will have to Google it. I've been out of that world for a long time, but I could see, just like the robots for detonations that the bomb squad use. It's based on that philosophy of keeping the person safe and the other cops safe, and hopefully the civilians too at the same time.
well, we're just going to have to figure it out at some point. Look up Sparkles. Go to YouTube and look up Sparkles. And it's silly. Version 1.0, it's silly. They basically put like a Jim Henson costume on the robot Spot, creepy looking robot Spot body. And so it's silly, but then if you can just imagine it, you think, well, give it 5 years and it's going to be a lot more affordable and a lot cuter. But
I thought Astro would have been a better name.
yeah.
The Jetsons.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. Anyway, it's certainly cute, but I think as a society we'll figure it out. But the concern for me is just I think we're gonna have a much bigger population of dogs of human dogs, real human dogs, real dogs, natural dogs that are looking for homes. And so it's that inflection point that concerns me. And I just think now people need to be talking about it more. And I also think that animal organizations should also be interested in working with robot dogs to assimilate robot dogs and actual dogs, so shelter dogs. So I think maybe shelters and rescues should start bringing in a robot dog and being a part of that training, because I can imagine all the nightmare scenarios in a household. If you have a robot dog and a real dog, that might not work out so good.
Right.
They might not be aligned at all. Ginger was talking about her dog Lily would be pulling a power cord every time she tried to charge the robot dog. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Lily's one that I can figure out enough of what she's saying when she's barking. I don't need to know the rest of it. So we're not going to do any Neuralink stuff on her either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she has.
She's an old cranky dog anyway. Nobody wants to hear what old cranky dogs. Even me, one day I'll be an old cranky dog if I'm not already that way. Well, let's get back to the serious part of service dogs for vets. I'm sorry, we do like to have a little bit of fun here because we talk about a lot of serious issues. But okay, so what are the candidates? The candidates how you placed? Walk us through the placement process and what sort of candidates can apply for service dog through your member organizations.
Well, each one of them is going to be have a little different process, but it's very similar. So military service, and now either law enforcement or first responder. We'll just leave it at first responder. Can apply for a service dog at no cost, and there has to be a medical diagnosis of either post-traumatic stress disorder, mobility, military sexual trauma, or sexual assault. And I haven't said mobility again. So those are the key factors that we're looking at. With the PTSD, MST, and sexual assault type stuff, it's all kind of together. So if those things happen, they experience it. Men and women, it goes through to, you know, their PTSD diagnosis, and honorably discharged or honorably retired out of the military or out of first responder course. After that, it's just a lot of paperwork, which they're used to. We do a lot of background stuff for them so that we know that we're getting a candidate, because we are placing a living, breathing service animal with them, and we need to make sure that they are ready for that experience and they're ready for that responsibility. So there's a lot of vetting and background checks going on for the veterans and first responders. And then some of the groups do meet and greets with the dogs to try to select the right candidate for the dog. They might bring a few dogs into the room and allow the dog to interact. And some organizations do it based on what the veteran lists in some of the documents that we require, which is what is your mobility level, what's your lifestyle, are you in school? And then they look at the dogs they have in the kennel that are ready to go. So, and they'll pair them before they even arrive. So there is a little bit of difference there. And then the goal is for them to spend at least 300 hours of training with the animal, with the service dog out in public, in classroom lectures, things of that nature. So we give them the whole gamut. And lecture classes, sometimes veterinarians come in, they have to attend all those and pass written quizzes so that they retain the information. And then we go on to finish their training. The course that I set up originally at Canines was 3 weeks, 21 days to make a habit, 21 days to break a habit. So we were going off that model, and the very end we do a culmination of a public access test that they have to show that they are working with the dog very well and that they're a cohesive team together. And we do that in several locations out in public. So they're in restaurants, they're in Target, they're in Walmart, every place that they don't want to go because they'd rather just be by themselves or in a group like themselves. We get them out and make them do it, and they have to score a minimum of 80% on the test. If they don't, then we have some retraining to do. So we'll get them done. But most organizations go by those criteria: veteran, first responder, honorably discharged, and willing to take on the responsibility and ready for that responsibility.
So as a consortium, you sort of set the standards for your member organizations, but you work with them to set certain standards, minimum standards. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wait, is that, so let me clarify that. Is that 300 hours for the humans or for the therapy dogs?
Both,
No,
right?
for both together.
Wow, that is, I think that's incredible and commendable too. That's wonderful. Because you would think that you'd have to make a serious commitment. If I'm committing to 300 hours, I'm making a commitment.
Yeah, I mean, each group is a different, that is just the benchmark hours to get to. So, you know, if somebody is maybe can't do it as much with the limited mobility, they still have to perform all the tasks. Maybe, you know, they're a few hours short of that. And then there's the overachiever groups that might have a few hours more. These are just the minimums.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's incredible. That's a lot of time to get to know the dog, for sure.
So let me ask you a question. You have a Belgian Malinois, and so why is that one of the most common service type animal dogs, service dogs?
Well, it's not really the most common service dog. It's the most common military working dog or police dog that you'll see.
Okay.
It's, you know, the breed lends itself to being very similar, obviously, to the German Shepherd. Breed histories go back about the same length, maybe a little further. Some people tell me there's always the argument of who came first. But in Netherlands, they were bred for the same purposes of herding, protecting, those things. As far as my opinion, which, you know, everybody has one about the types of working dogs you want to use, a little bit more agile, a little faster. They last longer as far as longevity out in the field for the work in the police and military. And I wouldn't say a better work ethic, stronger work ethic than a lot of dogs. And like I said, just a very universal tool to have. And, you know, my first dog was an 85-pound German Shepherd. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'7". And so if we need to go over a fence, I was pulling over people's porch furniture to get this dog and carry him over a fence. Or I could have my last dog was a Malinois, was 52 pounds. He would hop the fence, you know, with me trying to catch up to him.
And that's about an average.
Helps.
Is 50, around 50 about the average weight for a Malinois?
According to breed standards, yes, but you'll see some people that, there's some shepherd crosses in there. Some people want size, but in my opinion, the power they already have, you don't really need the size with the Malinois. 52, 50, 60-pound dog will be just fine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking there, where I haven't seen any like huge or any, I don't think I've ever seen one that's like, it's even overweight.
No, not very rarely will you see one overweight. They're a lean animal.
Yeah, I've seen videos
Exercised.
I've seen videos of their jumping and capacity, and it's just a phenomenal. And I guess that was my misunderstanding, that they're primarily military and law enforcement service dogs rather than just the broad category service dogs. Well, tell us some of the 19 organizations. That's wonderful. That's just wonderful that you have that degree of collaboration and unity in the service dogs for veterans world. Wish we had that in the canine cancer world, but we don't, unfortunately. Let's give a shout out to some of those 19 member organizations, because I'm sure they're all wonderful.
Yeah, so we have Northwest Battle Buddies out in Washington State. Then we have Dog Tag Buddies in St. Louis. Canines for Warriors, obviously, in Florida. And there's a few canines. Ones we'll go over: Canine Partner for Patriots in Florida and Canine Partners in Wisconsin. And we have Semper Canine over in Virginia. Got Your Six is another one out there. So
I like that name.
Yeah.
Got Your Six. I like that. Yeah.
Good names out there. And just good groups. Now they may do 5 dogs a year, or they may do 100 dogs a year. So that, that's kind of the thing with us, is as long as we're doing the right thing and helping the population that needs these animals, and we're meeting those standards that we set, then, we'll put anybody on and help them to get through it, to grow their organization and get them experience into the industry.
Do you have any partners in Tennessee?
In Tennessee, not yet.
Okay.
So we just rebranded within the last 8 to 9 months. We're finally up and running with it, because before, like I said, we were only doing veterans. Now we added first responders, and we've also added some new leadership to it. So we just launched our website a couple weeks ago, and we've had some serious inquiries, probably 25 to 30 new inquiries of groups about joining. So we'll see how that goes, because we just want to grow it and make sure that everybody's doing the right things by the veterans and by the first responders.
I think it's great that you included first responders in there as well. That's a wonderful addition. Yeah, and I was on your website. It's nice, and you have everything looks nice. So cheers to your rebranding efforts. And yeah, if there's anything that Ginger's decked into the rescue shelter, the service, all that, the whole world, and I'm sure she'd be happy to make some connections in Tennessee to help you out.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's somebody doing it there, but we just don't have a member yet. Maybe we'll get one out of this show.
I think there's somebody in Lawrence County that is training dogs for veterans, but I'll have to look into that.
Okay, sounds great.
Well, one of the other reasons why I wanted to talk about how you and I met, Brett, is that you got your Fetch shirt on. I don't have one for my size yet. I have a Baby Gap t-shirt. Makes me look like Simon Cowell on whatever, American Idol. I think that was the show he was involved with. And so I
just got a visual.
It's a bad one. It's like a sausage, sort of. I got the dad bod with a couple of deviations to it. So it's on order. I heard from our guy, but I've since I've been to San Antonio, we actually had Fetch here on the podcast, and when I came to San Antonio, it just worked out so that I'm able to work with them and help them out here in the San Antonio area. It's a wonderful organization. And so why don't you talk about Fetch? How did you get involved with them? And let's talk about them for a bit.
Yeah, so I've been traveling for quite some time. I was down in South Florida working with a service dog organization. And I was gone for a little over a year. And my wife said, you're not going anywhere. There was a group in Texas interested in possibly having me come over. And her roots are here, born and raised in Jacksonville. So she was definitely not moving, and she told me I had to find a job. And I found Fetch as I was going around saw that they just opened a franchise, and they were interviewing for their general manager position. So threw my name in the hat, and learned a little bit about them. 23 years open, started out in California, family run business. Still in the family, but not the same family that's running it. And met some of the leadership via Skype and Skype. That's really making me old. Zoom. Got to know them a little bit through there. And my owner is actually up in the New Jersey area. He and I hit it off really well, and decided it was a nice thing. And it's needed in this area. We have a lot of private sitters. So Fetch coming in is, a new brand for them, especially with some of the services we offer with pet taxi and overnight stays at a more reasonable cost than a private sitter. So, and I love the fact that, everybody's background checked and vetted and trained before they come on, so that we know, since we're going into people's houses, prior law enforcement, I like to have that level of confidence that they've been through a background check to help everybody out. So far I've been with them just a little over a year, and I just took over another territory as a manager, or lead sitter. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, so far I've enjoyed the experience, and Fetch has been a great company.
Yeah, cheers to that on your new territory. That's wonderful. You're like me. You've been working in the nonprofit world. I've been doing it for 15 plus years, and I don't think I've ever been paid ever. So, the same thing is that I was looking for some really good companies to help out while I'm helping build Puppy up and continue with our mission for companion animal cancer. And it was Trail Magic that we talked to the people. We had them on here on Fuzzybutts and Friends back in December. And you're right, it's a wonderful organization, and the people are truly committed to offering a next level, next level services for pet parents. I don't think we talked about this, but I broke my foot back in November, and Ginger was traveling, and I have my geriatric Pyrenees, Indiana. He basically has very little hind mobility, or back then he had very little. Now he has none at all, and I have to help him up, and he just can't get up on his own. But I broke my foot. Ginger had to travel, and I was really in a pinch. So what's interesting here in San Antonio is, unlike your area, Fetch is very new to San Antonio, 3 months, and nobody knows about it. But every time I talk to people about it, they love it. They're excited about it. They love the fact they have the pet taxi. Because if you don't have time to get your fuzzy bud to the groomer, to a vet appointment, or like with me, rehab services, physical rehab or hydrotherapy for Indiana, that's something that they offer, and it's next level. And you're right that people care, and they're actually truly animal lovers, and they know how to also give medication too. So if you have a sick fuzzy butt, or they know what they're doing, and it's something I'm proud to be a part of, and working with them and helping them out here in San Antonio. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm new to it, but I'm excited.
Yep, it's going to be a good run for you, I guarantee.
Yeah, I want to talk about the pet taxi service, because a lot of people don't think about, I got a Great Pyrenees mix. He weighs 90 pounds. If he's not mobile and I have to take him to the vet, I can't pick him up. Now, let's say the Fetch taxi person is my size, but at least maybe the two of us could get him in. I mean, it's just, I would have to go screaming down the street.
Right.
Help me.
Well, the nice thing is too, we talk to the clients a lot prior to that first meeting, and we do the meet and greets, so that we actually know what the client's wanting, and we get to meet the dog and see the size and see what possibilities might have to take place for something like that. So that way we're ahead of the game. If it happens, we know maybe we got to send 2 sitters over to help you out. So.
Well, yeah, you would. I mean, do you just size up the owner and the dog and say, this is not going to happen? I mean,
sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great point, though. What I love about Fetch too is that they just don't say no. Is that if you need whatever you need, however you need help with your fuzzy butt, we'll figure out a way. We'll find a solution for you. And if it's sending 2 sitters over to help you out, that's something I'm sure that we can figure out. It's the resources that we have to pull the resources. It's incredible. But I did my first meet and greet last week. I had to step in for a sitter, and it was a little Pyrenees mixed puppy, and she was so cute. she was a heartbreaker. She's a cute kid, and you're right. It's a lot of fun, and it's rewarding work, and it's a great organization. So I'm glad to be a part of the Fetch Pet Care family for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, we've talked about a lot. Brett, is there anything that you think that we've missed on our end that you would like to discuss?
We've hit all the topics that we were chatting about, so I think we're good to go there. And if there's any time that you need me to come back on and answer anything else, please feel free to reach out.
Well, likewise, you're clearly a friend of the Fuzzybutts, and so if you have anything new, a new program, a new service, a new with your service dogs for vets, or whatever, if you're like me and you work on a new dog project, you can never get one more, or you can never get enough, So if you ever
Absolutely, I'm gonna go check out Spot and Sparkles after we get off here.
I didn't tell you, it really is fascinating. There's $75,000 a piece right now. That's clearly out of my nonprofit budget of $0. And maybe after working for Fetch, I'll be able to afford my own spot. But I think there's an interesting. I think just getting one and having one with actual real dogs would just be a fascinating scientific experiment. Might go bad, might not work out. Yeah, it certainly is an interesting future for sure.
Let me just throw this out there. So, do you get pet insurance for Sparkles?
Well, it's a good question. Well, the bigger question they're asking, but I guess it is if it's Boston. I'm sure Boston Dynamics offers insurance because the thing costs so much, and more importantly, I'm sure you have to pay for upgrades, and software upgrades, and all sorts of things. So,
drive time warranty.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure you get your extended warranty on Sparkles.
Yeah, well, I imagine we could talk for a long time about your shared experiences, but it's great to meet another guy, another dude, as I said when we first chatted over the phone, that really dogs have impacted and shaped your life and the course of your future, and it seems like it has.
Absolutely, and it's always been for the better.
Well, I wish I could agree with that. I'm kidding. I lost 3 to cancer, and I say this jokingly, all kidding aside. But I wouldn't replace the experience for one second. It's been transformative, and it certainly has made me who I am. But I think I've gotten grayer and older and aged a lot. But it's been my life, and it's been a wonderful life. And there aren't enough dudes out there talking about their dude love for their dogs, man. I think. Sorry, Ginger, had to get some bro talk in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, Brett.
Well, but you know that except for Malcolm, because I never met him, that all of your dogs love me most.
Well, they were smart. They always got to appease the women. You always got to play to the women, and play to them.
They're playing to my ego. Is that what you're saying?
No, they loved you well, that's for sure. All right, Brett. Well, hang on. We're just going to make a couple of announcements, and then we'll wrap up here. Ginger, we've reached the time of the show. I always ask the question. I don't think you ever answer me honestly. Ginger, did I screw anything up this episode? Did I leave anything out?
Do you ever really want my honest opinion? Everything was perfect.
Of course I do. Well,
awesome.
Well, I do. I miss things from time to time. And one thing I can't miss, and I don't want to miss, is our cancer tip of the week. So, Ginger, do you have a puppy up cancer tip for this week, this episode?
Well, my cancer tip of this week is personal, and everybody knows I'm always putting my cancer tips in there because when you start out with a lot of dogs, somebody's always going to have cancer. So today I found out that Mayberry has cancer. I'm not really sure exactly what type it is. And the vet did tell me, and I'm going to talk to her in a while. But the thing about it is like she had a spot, and I'm always saying open wounds or whatever. So have them checked out. I did. It came back that it wasn't a mast cell tumor. They didn't really know exactly what it was. It looked like it was probably benign, but it never healed. And so the vet and we put her on antibiotics again, and then it kept going. So I finally took her to the vet, probably for the 3rd time, and we're both like, yeah, let's just remove it and go from there. Well, when we removed it, we found out that it's this other type of cancer, which my text message from the vet said that it was benign. But that's just to show when something isn't right, you know, like it wasn't healing, just keep going back to your veterinarian. The two of you can work it out together on what will need to be done. But we had even in the beginning said something about removing it, but we were hoping it was going to heal. It didn't. So just keep on. If something is not, you know, just because it came up that it wasn't a mast cell tumor, obviously it didn't mean it wasn't something else. So, you know, here we are. But Mayberry's 14. She doesn't know she has cancer, and I'm not telling her. So shh, we're quiet about that.
But she's a mean old crotchety dog. They live the longest, so I think she'll beat cancer. Her meanness will beat cancer, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And she doesn't hear well, so I could probably scream right at her and she wouldn't know
That's
it
true,
anyway.
but you sent me a text. It's a type of adenocarcinoma, and I've never heard of it before, so I'm eager to
Either,
find out.
yeah, I haven't either. That's why I just said I wasn't really sure exactly what it is because it's something new. Well, and you know, Luke, in the cancer world, there is some new something we haven't heard of before. So,
Yeah.
um, unfortunately, it seems like the rare ones are the ones people haven't heard about before. Always seem to be on my dogs, but you know,
Yeah,
there we are.
cancer, unlike most people think, cancer is a moving target. It changes. There are new variations and breeds, interestingly enough, that occur, spontaneously occur. Well, keep us posted, Ginger.
I will. And one more note is that it used to be 50% of dogs over the age of 10 will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. So I'm assuming the older your dog is, the greater the percentage would be. And Mayberry is 14 years old. So she's lived a good life. And I'm guessing she's going to probably be ruling us and griping at me for the next 2 or 3 years. So.
God's probably going to have to step on her for her to die, though. She's just mean as a snake. Always
She
seems
and Lily. She and Lily.
the
They're going
mean
to be
ones.
20.
Yeah, the mean ones live the longest, I think. That's why all my sweetheart boys. But I pray to the gods of cancer, but they don't seem to answer me with my fuzzy butts. But well, keep us posted, Ginger. All our best goes out to you and Mayberry through this time, and
Thank you.
interested to learn more about it. All right, Brett, one thing I forgot as we're wrapping up here, how can people find you on social media, your organization on social media?
Servicedogsforvets.org is the
Okay.
best way to reach out and get to us.
Are you on? Go ahead.
I'm not on any type of social media for training or anything like that. So, but you can always find me, just Brett Simon, not the author.
There's an author, Brett Simon. I didn't know that.
Yes.
What does he write?
Every now and again, I get a request.
Okay. All right. Well, you're probably all the saner and healthier not being on social media. It's a mess out there, but it's a necessary one. I spent my entire morning posting this found dog to all the different sites, and I realized my entire morning was social media. And it's a lot, but please do, for everyone, support this wonderful organization, servicedogsforvets.org. Brett, thank you so much for your time today on Fuzzy Butts and Friends. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
And before we
Thank you.
continue, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Genie's Therapeutics. It's the best damn hemp-based oil CBD formulation based on the Simpson oil formulation in the business. You can learn more about it at geniestherapeutics.com. Until next time, everybody, puppy up. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.